Welcome to God's Transforming Word. Today we're going to continue our study on the fundamental doctrines. We're on the top of our wall with the end of the age. Prophecy. In this study we will be looking at the end of the age, the end times as given by Jesus in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 25. Jesus shared in chapter 24 the timeline of events, and in chapter 25, how should we live our lives in view of Christ's certain return. Jesus gives some insights into the future which are intended to form our lives now. Some study tips. The meaning of the word then is at that time or at another time. Also in concession as of sequence. So when we see the word then, we need to look at the passage to see where in the passage it goes. What is it referring to that this is related to? So we will see that the word then is pointing to the different times. The time of sorrow, the time of tribulation, the time just after the tribulation, the time of wrath. It is like watching a TV program. You may see 4 scenes on an earthquake. It's a beautiful sunny day. Some people are playing in the park. Then, number 1, you see some people watching their instruments in a control room of an earthquake happening. Then, number 2, some people are running from the earthquake that is destroying everything in its path. Then, 3, there's a highway full of cars falling apart from the earthquake. Immediately after the earthquake, 4, you see a news reporter reporting the aftermath of the earthquake that just hit the city. The reporter tells you that the earthquake was a 0.5 quake that lasted for 5 minutes. Scene 1, 2, and 3 of the earthquake all take 5 minutes each. So you just watched 15 minutes of the earthquake on TV. But in actuality, the quake was only 5 minutes long, and the events occurred simultaneously at the same time. How long was the earthquake? When you read a story or see a TV program, you have events one after another, even though they may be happening at the same time. That is what we have in the Bible also. A quick look at the events. The beginning of sorrows is in Matthew chapter 24, verse 4 through 14. And it ends with the abomination. Great tribulation, Matthew chapter 24, verse 15 through 28, ends with the sign of the Son of Man. Immediately after the tribulation in those days, Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 through 31, the wrath happens. Jesus' disciples came unto him and said, Tell us, when shall these things be? Matthew chapter 24, verse 1 through 3. Reading. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him, for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And in Mark chapter 13, verse 1 through 4. And as he went out of the temple, one of his disciples said unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here? And Jesus answered, said unto him, Seest thou these great buildings? There shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the mountain of Olives, over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled? And in Luke chapter 21, verse 5 through 7. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, and he said, As for these things which ye behold, the day will come, in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another, that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? Jesus brushed aside their lavish praise of the temple. Jesus comments about Jerusalem's destruction. They must have wondered why he was speaking of impending doom on the city. They thought the Messiah was going to save Jerusalem and the temple, not allow both to be destroyed. The disciples asked 3 questions about the future. The order is as followed. Number 1, when shall these things be? The destruction of the temple in the city. 2, and what shall be the sign of thy coming? And 3, and of the end of the age. When will this happen? Matthew chapter 24, 4 through 14. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And he shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that he be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famine and pestilence, and earthquakes, in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and he shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another, and many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Verse 4 to 14. Jesus gives the character of the age, the church age, God's people and his disciples, that this age will be marked by things that are only the beginning of sorrows, birth pains, false prophets, wars, phantoms, pestilence, earthquakes, iniquity shall abound, many shall be offended, and shall wax cold. Perilous times shall come, a falling away will come. But this is not the end. The abomination of desolation in Matthew chapter 24, verse 15 through 22. Reading, When he therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee unto the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, nor on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this end, to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. What will be the sign of your coming? Matthew chapter 24, verse 27 through 31. For as lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. What will be the sign of the end of the age? Matthew 24, verse 15 through 26. When he therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Let them which be in Judea flee unto the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take away anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them which give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days shall be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christ and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it not. Jesus answered their questions. The end of the age will be marked by great tribulation that will be started by the fulfillment of the prophecy given by Daniel in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. The abomination that causes desolation. Jesus' own return will be visible to all. He will return openly with an army of angels. But as for just when this will happen, no one knows. Let's take a little closer look at these verses. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. Matthew chapter 24, verse 4 and 5. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And in Mark chapter 13, verse 5 and 6, then Jesus answering, then began to say, take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Luke chapter 21, verse 8. And he said, take heed that he be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ. And the time draweth near. Go ye not, therefore, after them. You will note that they are coming in the name of Jesus and saying they are Christ. The word Christ is anointed one. So these preachers are coming in the name of Jesus and saying they are anointed. In Acts chapter 4, verse 7, the disciples were asked, by what power or by what name have you done this? There are some that come and say they are Jesus themselves in the flesh. But that is the extreme. We need not overlook the fact that this is talking about false, misguided preachers and teachers who are claiming that they are anointed preachers in the authority of Jesus. A tree and its fruit, Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 through 20. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them. And here are wars and rumors of wars. Matthew chapter 24, verse 6 through 8. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of war. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And in Mark chapter 13, verse 7 and 8. And when he shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be he not troubled, for such things must need be. But the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famine and trouble. These are the beginning of sorrows. And reading in Luke chapter 21, verse 9 through 11. But when he shall hear of wars and commotions, be not troubled, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines and pestilence, and fearful signs, and great signs shall there be from heaven. The events Jesus mentioned are dreadful indeed. Wars and rumors of wars, nation rising up against nation. And he went on to say that the nature will seem to conspire to burden the world as well. What does Jesus mean when he himself seems to dismiss these things lightly, saying these are the beginning of birth pains? Simply that we must never confuse such persecutions and tribulations with the great tribulation and the judgment that lies ahead. That is mainly to say we are mistaken if we confuse agonies of war and natural disasters with the great wrath of the devil and the latter wrath, judgment of God that is to come. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and he that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea! For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. In Revelation chapter 15, verse 1, And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is fulfilled the wrath of God. In Luke chapter 21, verse 11 through 12, He shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. And in Matthew chapter 24, verse 9 through 14, Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and he shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall arise, and shall deceive many. And because of iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto the nations, and then shall the end come. Mark chapter 13, verse 13. And he shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure unto the end shall be saved. And in Luke chapter 21, verse 12 through 19. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you, and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into the prisons, being brought before the kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what he shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to abide against, nor resist. And he shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And he shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your patience possess he your souls. Matthew 24, verse 12. Some shall depart from the faith. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 through 13. Now the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidden to marry, and commanding to abstain from meats which God hath created to be received with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth. 2 Timothy 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. In both Matthew and Mark, Jesus speaks of a prophecy given by Daniel the prophet. Jesus said, when he shall see the abomination of desolation. So what is the abomination of desolation? Let's look at the prophecy in Daniel. Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 through 27. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. 70 weeks. The time spoken of in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 through 27, usually understood as 70 weeks of years, or 490 years. The passage groups the weeks in 3 parts. 7 weeks, 49 years. 62 weeks, 434 years. 1 week, 7 years. The 49 years are related to the rebuilding of Jerusalem in times of trouble. The 434 years relate to the interval time between the cutting off of the Anointed One. The 7 years are associated with the period of time that a ruler makes an agreement between him and Jerusalem, which is violated in the middle of the 7-year covenant of peace. This is what Jesus was referring to. Matthew chapter 24, verse 13 said, "Endure," that is to stay under, behind, to stand behind, to await, endure. Endure, the end. End is to set out for a definite point or goal. Saved is safe, well, to save. Those who endure to the end will stand firm through false teaching. Those who endure to the end will stand firm through ridicule and hatred. Those who endure to the end will stand firm even in the midst of a sinful culture. In closing today's lesson, Hebrews chapter 3, verse 14. "For we are made partakers of Christ if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast until the end." Hebrews chapter 13, verse 14 in the Easy Reading Version. We have the honor of sharing in all that Christ has if we continue until the end to have the sure faith we have in the beginning. So my friends, I'd like to encourage you, hold fast until the end. We will pick this lesson up next time in our next lesson. God bless. For more information about God's transforming word, you can go online to their website at j316.us. There we archive all our programs for your convenience. And also you can visit their bookstore and read some of their teachings online or even download them as PDFs.